Hi, I'm Gary White for Central Kentucky Television. I'm here with Sister Judy Morris, who is the Justice Promoter for the Dominican Sisters of Peace, which is located in Springfield in St. Catharines. Correct, you have your mother house there.
We have a mother house there. Our central headquarters is in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
So we really have several mother houses.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons that we have Sister here with us today is it recently that you released a corporate stance for the Dominican Sisters on gun control policies, or what you would like to see happen with gun control in the United States. Is that correct?
That's correct. That was earlier in March. We
Okay.
issued that to media outlets throughout the United States.
Okay. Well, let's touch base with what kind of stance you issued and what you would like to see happen with regards to gun control here in the United States.
Okay. Well, Dominican Sisters and Associates of Peace have been concerned for some time with the volume of gun violence throughout the United States. And so we felt it would be important to add our voice with the voices of many other faith-based organizations and justice organizations to say there are responsible, common sense measures that can be taken to address this critical issue. And so we decided to be visible on the issue and issued a corporate stance that really had 4 points to it.
Okay. And what were those particular points?
We call for approval of universal background checks. This has been before our Congress, U.S. Congress, and has really gotten nowhere. Basically, the universal background checks need to cover gun shows and buying guns online. Right now, if one buys a gun at a gun store, there's automatically a background check.
Right.
That is not true in gun shows or online, which means that someone with a convicted felon could go to a gun show, buy a gun, and be on his or her way and
In a
kill
matter of
someone.
minutes.
Yeah, it is common sense. Secondly, we support a ban on assault weapons and on high-capacity magazines. You don't need an assault weapon to shoot a deer, okay? You don't need an assault weapon that could kill 100 people in a short span of time to protect yourself in your own home. So those are 3 of the gun control measures. And the 4th one is equally critical, and we call for increased financial support for mental health resources. That is a great need. If you follow the events in the last few years, in many instances it is a perpetrator with a mental health issue, and whether that was in Connecticut or in Colorado, in Fort Hood, Texas, and so forth. So there are 4 responsible, common sense measures that can be taken. But what we say on the front end is we respect the Second Amendment. This is not about taking guns away from law-abiding citizens. If you want to buy a gun, you go to a gun store, you do the background checks, there's no reason why an individual cannot have a gun. If you want to hunt, fine. We have no problem with someone getting a gun, going through the background checks, and hunting. So we want to clarify that.
Okay. So when people say to you the Second Amendment, you do still support what they are asking for?
Well, yeah, we respect the Second Amendment. It was written and passed at a different point in time. It was basically for the militia. Okay, we try with 21st century eyes sometimes to say this is what they meant. Well, I don't think the founding fathers meant that anything goes.
Right.
So those are some of the areas of concern that we have. We want to see responsible legislation both on the federal level and on the state level.
So now you've issued this statement. What's your next step to make this hopefully become to fruition?
We call on our sisters and associates to follow up with activities such as a phone call to your senator or your representative, or a letter or an email, a petition, a letter to the editor calling for responsible gun control legislation. This is what we ask. And of course, being a religious community, we believe in prayer for responsible, just legislation. Yeah. We've seen recently, I think, 16 states, after the tragedy in Connecticut, have passed very good legislation. That's including Connecticut. That's in New York and Illinois, Maryland, and Washington, D.C., among other places. So it can get done. It has been done. We need to do it here in Kentucky, and we need to have it done on the federal level.
What is the stance in your review of the politicians here in Kentucky with regards to gun control currently?
They haven't passed any substantial legislation protecting the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. In fact, believe it or not, in Kentucky, a child can get a rifle. If you just a few months ago, a 5-year-old boy in eastern Kentucky was given a child-size rifle as a gift. 5 years old. Okay. He has the gun. He has the rifle. He shoots and kills his 2-year-old sister. Please explain to me the rationale for a child having a gun. Any ideas? No. Okay. That's and recognizing that also that Kentucky is largely a rural state. We understand hunting, but a gun doesn't belong in the hands of a child. Another issue happened in Louisville, maybe a year or a little more ago. Father and mother with 3 children in the house watching TV. A young, I think he was 3 years old, picks up a loaded handgun on a table, shoots and kills his 34-year-old father. Again, responsible action would be having a gun locked up. If you are a parent with small children in the home, lock up the gun. Most children don't know the difference between a toy gun and a real gun.
Right. Lots of toys that look real.
Absolutely. So you're mistaken that this was a toy gun. He shoots and kills his father.
So again, I'm talking with Sister Judy Mars, who's with the Dominican Sisters of Peace, talking about their gun control stance. And another issue they talked about was with the automatic rifles. After one of the most recent tragedies in Connecticut, there was a lot of talk on the federal level of possibly banning access to certain automatics. However, like you said, you can still go to a gun show or online and purchase one, and within however long it takes you to get it delivered, or as you walk out of there, have access to that kind of a weapon. Is that correct?
You could still, I think, if you get it in a gun show, I don't think you, again, don't have to go through a background check.
Right.
If you go to a gun store, you would have to go through a background check. The point is still, why would anyone want an assault weapon? If you're buying it for safety, that's one thing. If you're buying it for hunting, again, there's nothing wrong with that. Why would you buy something that could kill many people very quickly?
Now, we talked a little about a background check. What's included in a background check? When they go to a store to be checked, do you know who would be prohibited from owning a rifle?
A convicted felon would not be allowed to purchase a gun. Someone with a long history of mental illness. Those are the 2 areas where there would be. And of course, this is really, the background check is done very efficiently. You're not going to wait a month to be able to buy a gun. Right. This is thanks to James Brady, who, if you recall, was press secretary for Ronald Reagan. he and his wife have been very consistent in their efforts for rational gun legislation, thanks to them. Since the Brady...
And he was shot
during
Ronald Reagan's
and he is confined to a wheelchair since that time. As a result of the Brady bill, an estimated 1.5 million people have been prevented from buying guns. They had a record. If it was not for the Brady bill, they would have had their hands on guns. Who knows how many people would have been killed or injured as a result of that. The statistics are sobering, really. Over 31,000 people a year die from gunshot in the U.S. Over 1.5 million are injured through guns. Okay. So another thing I think to be aware of, if one does legally have a gun in the home, recognize that in most instances, gun violence in the home is not fighting an intruder off. It's domestic violence, suicide, or an accidental shooting. 3 out of 4 times, it's not trying to protect yourself from an intruder.
And as you did mention, you're not trying to prohibit anybody from owning a gun, just you have certain requirements, background check, the automatic rifles that are out there, banning them, and providing for those individuals to get more psychiatric evaluation for individuals for having guns. And again, Sister Judy Morris is with the Dominican Sisters. Now you say that you're in charge of their justice area, right?
I'm the justice promoter for the Dominican Sisters of Peace. It's a Dominican term. It really person who engages sisters and associates in the community to serve as advocates in a variety of justice issues. It may be on regarding poverty, legislation regarding poverty. It may be gun control. It may be human trafficking and so forth. So it's really everyone in the congregation is a justice promoter. I just happen to have the role and the title.
So what do you see? Do you think that gun control is one of the top issues that needs to be addressed at this time with regards to the ones you just mentioned?
It's an important one. I'm not going to rank them. Clearly, human trafficking is a tragedy that affects millions around the world. Immigration reform is critical. Bluegrass Pipeline and the Keystone XL pipeline are critical issues. So I think they all fall under the umbrella of violence. So we've chosen the name Dominican Sisters of Peace. Okay, so we want to address issues of violence that affect everyone. And we are all affected, if not directly by gun violence, if not directly by human trafficking, we are affected in one way or another.
And recently, within maybe 6 or 8 months ago, we did a little segment with the Nelson County Chamber of Commerce. They had some representatives talking about human trafficking, and it's not just something that's out there. It actually does occur in our own communities here. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And something that does need to be addressed too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I basically would say everyone can do something, whether it's to call your representative or senator, write a letter to the editor, sign a petition, to work toward getting adequate mental health resources in our own community as well as nationally. I think everyone can and must do something.
And again, it is the stance of the Dominican Sisters of Peace for their gun control. They have released that in March. If you're interested in some more information on this, is it on your website or somewhere else that they can find some more information?
Yes, it's on our website, which is www.oppeace.org. You could email me at jmorris, MORRIS, at oppeace.org for further information.
Well, thank you very much for talking with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, again, I've been talking with Sister Judy Morris, who is with the Dominican Sisters of Peace, talking about their stance on gun control, has been Gary White for Central Kentucky Television.